We're going to start things off with the initial intake, which is simply a service catalog item. So this can be available to your users in a variety of ways. We've kept this pretty simple, but this could have a lot more questions. Its main intention is just to get the ball rolling. One of the things to understand about the decision engine is it does have a lot of configuration options. In this particular example, we're showing it for examining new vendors or applications and trying to get a sense of what risks they might have for the organization. So those new assets, bringing them in. And as Brian mentioned, what we want to do is get all these different stakeholders to be able to get the inputs that they want. This is a benefit to your end user because they're not being asked the same question multiple times by multiple stakeholders. They can go to one place, answer the questions, and basically provide the information that each of those different departments in your organization are concerned with. So before we get to the point where we can have it working, we would work with you to come up with the questions that would be needed, the automated triggers that determine what tasks might come out or what scoring might be needed for the different data classifications. We have starting libraries for all of that. We also can work with you and take whatever your organization has. So there's a lot of flexibility. But to start with, I would come in and say, I've got a new SaaS application. I called it MedBill, and I submitted it. Once I've submitted that, I'm going to be sent to an assessment that's going to ask me a series of questions. So these questions are all configurable, all dependent on what your organization wants, and really makes it much easier for the end user to answer those questions, and also for your different stakeholders to make sure that nothing's getting missed. These questions, they're using the ServiceNow assessment engine. So there's a lot of flexibility where depending on how you answer things, different questions could be hidden or shown. And there's a lot of different types of questions, different drop downs, yes, no's, multiple choice. And we've got this divided up into different pages. So these different pages sort of help focus the user on these different areas. So they might be able to answer what kind of data that this information system or vendor is going to be doing. And that helps also, determine the availability, confidentiality, integrity. All of these questions can be customized for your system and can go into a variety of different topics. When the respondent submits this, they may not have answered everything. They may have had some hard decisions and didn't know exactly how they want to do it. One of the things that our system does is help generate what we call consultation tasks. So before they answer yes to something that's going to cause a huge investment or a long analysis, they're given a connection to that expert team to have a short phone call and basically talk over their project, their new application, help that team be aware of it, and help ensure that they're answering the questions correctly. So there may be multiple rounds where they can go through and answer these questions, and there's a guidance helping them to get through all of that. Ultimately, based on scoring that you would configure, we can provide classifications, and we can have multiple different scoring buckets, if you will, multiple different categorizations of these. And they can be very helpful in identifying what kind of system is being brought in. Now, one of the other exciting things is that in addition to these consultation tasks, we can have fulfillment tasks. This is very powerful because there's many times that a system's brought in, assessments made, go-aheads given, and yet maybe there's a question about, did we ever actually finish all of these things? And because it's really hard to have one place that brings all these together, that question can be difficult to answer. By having all this tied together, all those different stakeholders, we're actually able to show people, based on our policies and based on how the questions are answered, this system needs these things. And these then are sent to the groups that would perform them. So these are not necessarily the quick consultation task. This is the long, maybe multiple week fulfillment task. And so vendor risk would need to come in and do the assessment. And this isn't the assessment itself. This is tied in saying, is that assessment completed? And so you can provide some information on what you're expecting, a very short description, and then they can provide their comments and they can provide evidence that it's been completed and mark it as closed. This is a standalone application that wouldn't necessarily need to tie in to other pieces, but there's many opportunities for it to tie in to things like the application portfolio, vendor risk, even your project management module, where people are putting in their projects and IDs. This can be used in tangent with that. One of the last things I'll show is there are different pages available. This is sort of a work queue where someone can come and they can see all their different requests. You know, I have a couple that are open. There's an approval process. I've got a couple that are waiting for approval. And then these are the tasks that were assigned to me. So if I'm in that vendor team, I may not have any classifications, but I could come in and I could see that I've got 3 different applications that are being onboarded, and my team, the vendor team, needs to do those assessments, and we can divvy those up, and those can be shared, but then there's still a person assigned to it so that we know who's running it. That's very helpful in workload balancing as well.